Hello again to another Agakala reaction. Today we have another date night. Yay! And it's gonna be something that Eric's gonna probably find most interesting.
Yes, kind of. It's what was gaming like in the 2000s? I prefer the 90s.
Well, I made reaction to the 90s, so I'm not going to make another reaction to the same video I already watched.
Yeah.
I should think ahead, and I actually mentioned that in the video that I should have left that for reaction with Eric, but it's too late. I was doing it already.
Most of my gaming was in the 80s and 90s. You know, some 2000s with Dreamcast. Yeah.
Yeah, you want to start?
Let's start, yeah.
Let's start. Woohoo!
But most of the stuff is like.
And it's from
Downward Thrust.
Yep. Yeah, okay.
Downward Thrust. Yeah.
On December 31st, 1999 at 11:59 p.m., I sat trembling in my room, awaiting the annihilation of the world. I closed my eyes, ready for the alien mothership to appear in the night sky, for computers to come alive and implode the very
alien
fabric
game
of
at
society. Y2K was going to kill us all.
Isolation?
Mr. Jones down the street built a bunker underneath his house and told us if we didn't do the same, the first blast from the alien mothership would incinerate us. As the seconds counted down, I squeezed my eyes as hard as I could and braced myself for the alien takeover. But as the clock struck midnight, nothing happened. When I opened my eyes at 12:01 a.m., it wasn't alien motherships I saw, or computers exploding that I heard, but instead an ensemble of banging pots and pans.
I shouldn't remember anything. I don't even remember where I was in that night.
Turned out to be one of history's greatest flukes. I was alive. The infamous Y2K scare is one of those moments in time that felt very anticlimactic, despite the terrible thoughts that I was going to be burned to a crisp. At least it was something exciting. As a teenager during the 90s, I had dreams of a futuristic society.
It was about the people not fixing their computers.
One of flying cars,
I'm terrible.
robots,
I play so little games that the games that I do know I automatically recognize, and I'm like, that's Cyberpunk 2077. Why isn't this in this?
Probably more interesting.
And then it was like Cyberpunk 2077. Yeah, sorry, you were saying something. I always interrupt.
If you were born after 2000, you don't remember Y2K.
Oh, obviously.
There was something in the computers that they didn't put the date past the 1900s. So they had to change everything to go on beyond 2000, which was scaring everybody because all the computers will just malfunction.
They just weren't sure if the computer's gonna work properly. What's gonna happen with all that? Basically, they might have, even you don't really think about it, but back then a lot of things were already controlled by the computers. Airplanes and pretty much everything already.
Yeah.
It's just no one really realized it. So
it's not as advanced as today.
Yeah, it wasn't, but it was still the important thing.
God.
Yeah, the dates and stuff.
Thinking back in the year 2000.
Yeah,
compared
25
to today.
years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
huge difference.
Yeah.
It's like the 1950s for me. Like,
yeah. Not that old.
But yeah. Anyways, so Y2K.
Do you remember where you were on that night?
2000. No.
Me neither.
Probably a donut shop. I don't know.
What?
Yeah, me and Ted.
For New Year's?
Me and Ted would celebrate New Year's at the local donut shop in Los Palos.
Okay. I don't even remember where I was. Probably was at home, but I literally don't know.
Yeah.
Space jumping into new galaxies like I saw in Star Wars. You know,
I'm
all the
guessing
cool
this is
shit
like
that you saw in movies like Independence Day
This is
and
Cyberpunk?
Terminator
Yeah, that's
2.
Cyberpunk.
I dreamed. Oh, yes,
Looks
I did.
good,
I
huh?
dreamed about flying to Mars and waking up next to Sharon Stone after watching Total Recall. When nothing happened and the world went back to its same old boring self, I felt utterly disappointed. So I did the only thing I could. I popped in a copy of Back to the Future that I had re-recorded over my dad's VHS tape labeled Sports Illustrated Swimsuit Contest, grabbed a pack of sour warheads from my secret stash, and fell asleep shortly after reading the latest episode of EGM. When I woke up the next day, little did I know that I'd be glad Y2K didn't kill us all, because this decade would be one of, if not the best eras for video games ever. Just about everything you could possibly think of that was exciting happened in the 2000s, and this was a 10-year period where video game culture exploded like I never thought it was possible. In the 90s, video games were just getting into a society.
How old is this guy?
He's younger than me.
Yes, he's probably like 25 or something.
No, he's not 25. I think in that 90s one, he said that he must have been age or something like that. He must be my sister's age.
Yeah.
That's what I think. Well, I don't have exact age of him, but yeah, he's younger than me. He's probably my sister's age, so that makes him about 35, 36. He was old enough to actually remember stuff from the 90s.
I don't know.
Yeah, Eric was born in the 70s.
I was born in the 70s, folks! Back in my day.
So
You're playing the Atari 2600.
So that actually makes you Gen X.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. Anyways, I say the biggest booms were when the NES came out. Because I remember in elementary school, people talked about, oh my god, he got a Nintendo. So people were talking about that. And then bam, 16-bit generation came around. That was the next big boom. Then bam, 32-bit generation came out. That was the next big boom.
Yeah, but here you have... Yeah?
Final Fantasy VII for PlayStation changed history, folks.
Yeah, like PlayStation was there's 30 years, so that's what, 1994?
I don't remember. But
I'm just saying
that game alone changed history. RPGs, mainstream now.
Okay.
Yeah.
You see, that's the gamer. I'm married.
Yes.
Yeah, I just play some games from time to time. I haven't even played anything in ages now. Like I was thinking when I played Fortnite last time, that was in July, I think. I was thinking when we played Fortnite together, that must have been last year.
Yeah, we didn't play last. I didn't play the last 2 seasons.
I didn't even update any of my consoles. So like that's gonna take ages now. But the thing is, we used to play together Fortnite a lot, and now we just don't. Just Fortnite is not as interesting anymore.
No, it's not.
And
it's my most expensive game, but
we have yes, for free one.
The free game is my most expensive game.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, but no, I don't really play that many games. So the Cyberpunk still stands there. The Xbox.
Yeah.
Gonna need a big update as well soon. Haven't been on for like
ages.
I say a year, 2 years maybe. Yeah.
It's been a while.
Uh-huh.
But when that PS5 Pro comes out,
we just don't really. You were playing every day. You kind of going back to gaming now again, but you kind of got sidetracked with something else. So.
Yeah, I had my life crisis, folks. So I started working out, and then after that, I started getting to what she wants to do, start teaching. I started doing this app, and I'm like there every day now. She says, "Don't teach anymore, Eric.
I didn't say don't teach anymore. You're just spending a lot of time on it, like a lot of time. I'm waking up middle of the night. What is Eric doing? He's on the app.
just chatting with people.
Yeah, just chatting with people.
Yeah,
that's fine. It's just do other things as well.
I am.
Yeah.
I'm laying in the bed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm breathing.
Okay. So you disagree with him about the best?
Yes.
Because there's probably 10 years difference between two of you.
Huge difference in gaming years.
Yes, but so basically he grew up. He was different. You have to watch the thing about 90s. What he did. That was really interesting to me.
Yeah, I want to see the 90s one. You can react to it, or
okay. So we're gonna finish reacting to this, and then we're gonna go to the 90s.
Perfect.
And
90s,
and that's gonna be the end for today. We're gonna record maybe next week or something like that, because I have some other videos planned. But that's that. So we're
90s
gonna.
better.
Okay.
90s were the days, folks. 90s.
Okay. Do you want me
you
to stop this and actually do the 90s?
No, we'll finish this one. Let's see what he says about the 2000s.
Okay.
People spent most of their time outside. I was a dork, and I had my dorky friends, and we had our GoldenEye tournaments high up in my tree fort. We pinned up a wooden sign carved "No Girls Allowed," but beyond this tree fort, our gaming garage setup, and the odd trip to the local arcade, this was my entire gaming world. But when 2000 came around, it wouldn't just be us dorks playing video games into the starry night. Games would dig their clutches into the very fabric of the world, and that is no understatement. Games and tech advanced so suddenly that it's very difficult to comprehend how fast time seemed to fly during this 10-year window.
Was it Jack and
All
Dexter?
sorts of crazy new genres began to pop up.
Game
Game design
Pikmin or something? Never played this
changed
one.
given
It's a Nintendo
increased
game.
hardware capacity and broader markets. There were so many systems with varying features and hardware, and all sorts of weird controllers, online features, and a lot of gimmicks.
Nintendo.
This was the decade of innovation.
Nintendo's,
The landslide of gaming popularity began the very first year of the decade when Sony launched
God of War came out in 2005?
In the 90s, if you wanted
on PlayStation 2.
I thought that was a bit later than that.
You think of the newest one?
No. I'm talking about the first one. I know that the newest one, it's obviously the second part, but I thought that was kind of more like closer to 2010 or something like that for some reason. I don't know. I didn't play neither of them, so like, you know.
And a Nintendo 64, you could go out and buy it. You might have to visit a few stores,
PlayStation
but if
2
you
came
have
out
a
in
cheddar,
2000s.
you were getting the
You might get me there.
But not with the PlayStation 2. The PlayStation 2 was the system that began the trend of having to show up at a store the day beforehand and see.
What about the Xboxes?
Xbox was okay, but PlayStation 2, because Sony owned that company, it automatically had a DVD player built in. This is technology that was expensive for everybody. Sony made it cheaper, so it's in every household.
Oh, okay.
So with CD gaming, you have a CD player in your console. Like Troy 16 CD, you're able to eject the CD player and walk around with it with your music, and then put it back into your game.
In the PlayStation 2?
No, PlayStation 2 was just a built-in system. It had your CD player, had your DVD player with your games. It's starting to become more of a multimedia console.
Okay. So he got you there, huh?
Yeah. Because of PlayStation 2's backward compatibility, you're able to bring your original PlayStation games and play them on PlayStation 2 with smoothing, faster loading times.
They already did that then?
Yeah.
Oh.
And online capability was available. Even with the Sega Genesis, you were able to play online.
It just kind of shows that basically Sony is a Japanese company, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, and Xbox is by Microsoft. Microsoft is an American company.
Yes.
And you didn't have backwards compatibility on Microsoft for a really long time, wasn't it? I remember that you were saying something that they eventually did it or something like that recently.
They did it with the Xbox 360.
Yeah.
Not as far as Sony did, where you get your games and play on the next console.
Yeah.
But you're able
so
to...
it just shows what different mindset in both of those companies is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like.
But Microsoft didn't come into a generation after. Because they had the PlayStation, and then when the PlayStation 2 came out, that's when Microsoft released their console.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And who did that move that basically they come out and they say that their console it's $100 cheaper?
That was Sony.
That was Sony?
Yeah.
That it's cheaper than Microsoft?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay.
I think Sega was out already.
Still laughing
Yeah, Sega was out already. You had to describe all their features and then the price, and then all Sony had to do was walk up, say $100 cheaper, and then everybody started cheering. 'Cause no one really cares.
What's on it?
What's the new feature? Is just, hey, can I afford this?
Yeah.
This is I know this company. I know what they're gonna do. This is their latest console. Can I afford it?
Yeah,
like
makes sense.
Yeah, with us, I want a PS5, and with our PS4, I got a PSVR. I love it.
We're not getting PS5 for now.
Of course not.
Unless you're
We're
gonna
getting a
sell
Pro,
all
baby.
of the PS4s and 3s and 2s and 1s and Xbox 360s and Xbox.
Folks, we've been married 10 years.
How many we
10
have?
years.
Can you actually?
She knows I'm a gamer.
Yeah, I know.
Do we sell our old consoles?
How
No.
many consoles we have? We have a Xbox downstairs in the living room. We
Okay,
have a
yeah,
PlayStation
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Now there's an Xbox here. This is me actually. That's on me because this is limited edition Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
So that's on me. But then you had one in the bedroom as well, and then you have Xbox One there as well, and there's a PlayStation 4, and then the PlayStation 4 broke.
She's exaggerating, folks.
Am I?
You are.
Am I?
We're poor. Please don't rob us.
Yeah,
we
they all
don't
old
have
anyway.
anything. Yeah,
We don't have anything new.
we don't have anything worth stealing.
Yeah, and everything was most of the thing was actually second hand.
Yes. Our consoles are made of cardboard boxes. It shoots out game cards.
He's
or
gonna kill
card
me up.
games.
Okay. Let's
Anyways.
go back to the video.
Yes.
Yeah. You wanted to say something?
Sell our old consoles. It's a divorce, man. It's a divorce. Actually,
Well, if you want to get PlayStation 5, sell some of the consoles. I'm not telling all of them.
So
I'm just
sell that
saying
one?
No, that's mine. You want to buy PlayStation 5, you can sell some of the
no.
consoles.
Okay,
You have multiples
wait.
of.
Let me win this argument. Our Xbox Ones. We had 2 of them. What happened?
One is in the living room.
And is it working?
Yes.
Is it?
Yeah.
You see, it wasn't working because they
it's
finally broke
working.
down. But now she has the only Xbox One.
No, it's not. It's working downstairs.
Is it?
Yeah, the one we were watching Disney on it.
Okay, cool. Anyways, so Xbox Ones are getting really cheap, and I need a backup. You know what a backup is, folks? Gamers do.
Okay. We're not going to fight over
Yeah,
that now.
yeah.
Because it's like, okay.
Continue.
Calm down. Yeah.
If people were waiting outside in line already. I know this because I actually had to camp out overnights at Walmart to get one. I shit you not. I stood next to a reeking dumpster outside the building for 18 hours to get the PlayStation 2. This was the first time I ever experienced anything like this. Truth be told, I nearly froze to death overnight like a popsicle. And food? I'd rather starve to death before leaving the line. I damn well nearly pissed myself too. Only 8 of the 60 people lined up got a system that morning. The rest
8?
left embarrassed. That's how
Wow.
far gaming had come in just a few short years. Video games weren't just Nintendo games anymore. The PlayStation was one of the most successful gaming consoles of all time, but you didn't have to
That's
risk
the original
getting mugged
PlayStation
if
game.
you zonked out for a second in a shady parking lot just to get it.
Oh,
But when 2000
2000s.
came to a close, gaming would spread through the world like a wildfire. There were several reasons for this. First, gaming had become way more than the beeps and bots of its heydays.
I
Pong
remember
was
watching you
out,
playing that.
High-definition
Fallout
3D
3, isn't
graphics
it?
were in, with
That
new
was,
controllers, better performance,
not Fallout 3.
and
No?
online
Ah,
play.
we played
The most
something else
important
with the
thing was
Fallout.
you didn't need
Was
to
it
be a
Fallout 3?
gamer to recognize
I thought
and
that
appreciate
one time we
games
played
during the
Fallout 3.
2000s.
Wait,
And I
you
used
backed
to-
that up. I thought that was something else.
No, they were
Not
saying
Fallout 3.
Fallout 3 there.
Oh yeah, okay. I was thinking something else. Start with an F. I forget what it's called.
High-definition 3D graphics
Anyway.
were in, with new controllers, better performance, and online play. The most important thing was you didn't need to be a gamer to recognize and appreciate games during the 2000s, whereas you wouldn't know what the hell you were looking at if you were in the 80s and you were not a gamer. You had to have an extreme amount of imagination to play an Atari game, for example. Getting your grandma to understand what the hell was happening in this screen of Sword Quest was like trying to explain what the meaning of life was to an orangutan. In the 2000s, though, people, real non-gaming people, could actually look at a TV and see the difference in video game genres now. And with new controllers and lots of new options, it was easier to play them too. Not everyone could play Ghouls and Ghosts in the 80s, but everyone could play Wii Sports in 2006. The first few months of the 2000s were simply nuts. The Dreamcast was the last system launched in the 90s, and it was incredibly underrated.
They're
It
remaking this
eventually
game's coming out.
discontinued in March of the following
telling you,
year, but it
I'm
would
gonna buy it.
deliver
Well,
some
there's a lot of
amazing
remakes
titles
coming
up
out
to
now,
its
isn't there?
demise.
Yeah.
Just in the first 30
They
days
should do that
of
to
the
every
year,
game.
the Dreamcast launched Crazy Taxi, Legacy of Kain, Soul
Then there
Reaver,
will be
and
no
what I
new games.
consider the greatest Resident Evil game ever made,
Oh, I think
Code
they're
Veronica, followed by Dead or Alive 2,
Code
Rayman
Veronica should be the
2,
next one
Skies of
released
Arcadia,
for a
Jet
remake.
Set
They're doing all the
Radio,
Resident Evil
Radiant 2,
games.
just to name a couple. Not to mention Shenmue, which had just launched 3 days before Y2K, which was one of the most hyped games ever. You want to talk about a console that was all about the games? The Dreamcast was not f***ing around. Sadly, when the PlayStation 2 hit in October, interest plummeted so hard that Sega was forced to throw in the towel, marking the end of one of the coolest game systems ever made. But not without last one hurrah, and that game was Phantasy Star Online. I can't even describe how wild it was to play an online RPG on a console on launch as a kid in 2000. It was like being in a dream. Prior to the Dreamcast, you couldn't really play games online unless you bought weird adapters like the Sega Saturn Netlink, which nobody did. It was literally the first system with a built-in
You never heard
modem.
about it?
No.
I've been playing games online.
I heard the Genesis net adapter. Then you pay a subscription and you get play games online instead of buying each game individually.
What kind of gamer are you then?
Shaped.
Well, you
Can't
can't
know everything.
You can't hear, yeah, exactly. And I was trying to think who was saying like 2000 and something. You're already an adult.
Yeah, but the Saturn was badass.
married
The Saturn, man.
to the older woman.
You can add 4 megabytes of RAM to make those arcade game ports run faster and smoother.
Okay.
It's awesome. Yeah. I have a pseudo Saturn.
Years now,
You guys know what that
on
is?
PC like Diablo 1, but nothing like the power of 120 FPS. With the Dreamcast, you could plop yourself down on a couch and game online while scarfing down Pringles. I mean, this was avant-garde gaming at its finest. It was ghetto and slower than cows, but hey, it was real. I lost myself in games like Choo Choo Rocket, Ooga Booga, and Bomberman Online. Can you believe this is an actual race of 4x4 Evo played
Well, I
on
only know
Sega
the-
Nets?
Bomberman because of you again. You were playing it recently online as well.
Oh yeah,
No,
I was
recently, that's been like 3 years ago. But
playing on Stadia.
yeah, and you really liked it. You spent
yeah.
a lot of time on it.
It was a good game.
Yeah,
Never got a number 1, but
I played a few
they
matches
released
as
a
well,
new one
it was
recently.
actually-
It was half off.
That was fun, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, I'm not a
6 years
gamer.
ago,
I'm occasionally.
it's insane, but
I'll
nothing
occasionally
really
play
compared to
games.
Phantasy Star Online. It was the first online console game
Unless
that
it's
really hooked
featured,
me,
then I
and
play
I
for
remember how
teenagers.
surreal it was walking around town seeing actual real-life people in a console game, then walking out into the forest and gunning down monsters and watching other people do the same, but with laser swords. And you could actually type to people if you had the Dreamcast keyboard. If you had the Dreamcast mouse as well, you can play Quake and Unreal Tournaments online. Again, it was jank, but this is where it all started. And there's something really special about being part of a revolution, an inception in the moment, at that time, despite how ghetto it was. The saying that you just
I wouldn't even know what the game is, so...
Of course,
you say you can go frag somebody?
Very niche and very pricey, because families didn't want you...
Only the older folks know what that means.
Especially if the Dreamcast was in another room from the phone line, where you'd have to drag the cable across the house to connect it, essentially creating a 30-foot tripwire of death. God forbid if anyone hit that thing, they'd crash to the ground and break a hip. Eventually other consoles would catch up to the online scene, namely the Xbox. When the Xbox released in November of 2001,
that was Project Gotham, I think? And if you had a Dreamcast, there was a game called Metropolitan Street Racer, which was one of the best racing games I've played in that era. I'm more of a Need for Speed guy now, but Project Gotham, Metropolitan Street Racer, great games, still hold up today.
I was playing Carmageddon back then, so like, go over the skies!
I'm not familiar with that because I didn't play Carmageddon.
Yeah, I wonder how.
Was it on PC?
Yeah, obviously.
I was more of a console guy as a kid, because computers were expensive back in the day.
Well,
we had a Tandy 1000.
Consoles they weren't really available. The Pegasus, yeah, but that was beginning of 90s, and then like late 90s and stuff. That's when we got the computer and stuff. So there was some games on it. I don't know. I think I got my Carmageddon from my cousin. So.
PlayStation 2, which had come out 1 year before.
There was no other way to get games before.
That's right. From over the radio.
Most importantly, it allowed for broadband connectivity and included a hard drive.
No, you're thinking about Commodore, yeah. 64. So,
yeah. Or the Amiga.
Yeah. So that's again. I had like a second hand from my cousin, and you was using actual cassettes, and that would be going on the games. The games would be on it, so you have to like play them into the thing, and then you could play. So obviously, before you start the game, you had to wait for a long time.
Yeah.
And then you just play that game for a long time because you didn't want to do another one. Pegasus was different because it was just like you had those cartridges.
Yeah.
Because you said that was something.
It was like a Super Nintendo.
Yeah. So we were
or
putting
SNES
the cartridges
here.
in. Yeah. We had a bit of a break here, so we had to cut out. And what we were talking about? Oh yeah, the Commodore and Pegasus. Pegasus had the cartridges. You said. You were just saying that it's the copy like of something that you had.
A Super Nintendo or a SNES.
So that was easier because you were just putting in, choosing the games. There was multiple games on it as well, so that was cool. And then we had the computer. So the computer was just like we didn't have internet at my home because we were in the countryside. We had a phone, but we wouldn't be able to afford, or they didn't put it in. So basically, we were just getting them on discs, floppy discs.
Oh yeah.
So that's where I get the Carmageddon because my cousin had that. So I was playing
storage.
Like
Two
crazy.
Things that crippled online play for the
I think I'm a
Dreamcast,
bit of an
not to
obsessive
mention-
gamer if I do play games because I have to get to the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were playing Call of Duty together. She was the sniper and I was the lookout.
Yeah, but that's Call of Duty. I'm just talking about, like, let's say Witcher, all those hundreds of hours that I spent on. And then, like, Bioshock, I nearly got to the end and I just could not go past the final boss. In the literal final, I just could not get past it, and I spent hours and hours on it, and I just give up eventually after hours and hours of it. And the same with the Carmageddon. I was getting to level 2, because it got me from 100 to 1. And just every time we have shorter time to get to the finish line. And I just could not do it in the first one. Because it was just too short. And there was not enough people and cows to kill. Because you get the extra time when you kill them. When you drive over them. So I was doing it for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. And I couldn't do it eventually. I just, But that was like a final thing. Like literally on final. Still a bit disappointed in myself. But I would finish Witcher, so at least that.
Yeah.
But I did so many side quests. It's just like, if you like side quests, The Witcher is definitely for you. The Witcher 3 definitely. There's so many of them. There's still apparently some that I haven't even seen, because some of them you just stumble upon. Like going some off the fucking track and stuff like that, and you're meeting someone and they give you a quest. So I'm like, obviously I didn't met them, so yeah. It's definitely gonna have to play it.
Negated the rather annoying prospect of having to insert those fat, stupid memory cards into the controller. Those things nearly gave me carpal tunnel. Many Xbox games had online functionality when they released into Xbox Live in 2002, including fighting, racing, shooting, and many off-colored game modes like Competitive Conquer or Spies vs. Mercs for Chaos Theory. This one game truly defined my year like no other. You simply don't get these types of creative online experiences today. There was even a Far Cry game called Instincts that you can play online, and a Forza game that was actually really fun. You could even play poker online with randos with World Poker Tour. One game that was also really popular was, of course, Battlefront 2 for the Xbox, where you'd have massive battles rage on into the night. And let me tell you, people were hyped as shit for this one. But the most popular game on the Xbox had to be Unreal Championship, the console version of Unreal Tournament. If you never played Quake on PC in the 90s, this was an experience to be had. To a kid who had only been playing couch co-op his whole life on console, it felt like an out-of-body experience, being able to go toe-to-toe with some random kid in Queens and know that when you teabagged him after you killed him, he absolutely saw it. But honestly, the most fun I ever had playing with other people in the 2000s wasn't online. It was System Link and LAN parties. The Xbox came with the ability to connect 4 consoles together with 4 TVs, allowing 16 players to play together at the same time.
Oh, really?
It was absolutely insane. My
Did you
friends
know
and I
that?
hosted game
No,
fests
I didn't have any
at
friends.
each other's houses all the time, and we'd order pizza and soda until the cows came home. And Xbox had the best game for
alone.
System Link, Halo. And we only played one game mode, which was 16-player CTF on Blood Gulch, and our battles went far into the night until our parents threatened to come downstairs and beat the shit out of us for being so loud. When the smoke cleared, we sat there drenched in sweat, hoarse to the bone from screaming, with piles of cheese breadcrumbs running down the sides of our asses. The marinara had been spilled hours ago and no one seemed to notice. And honestly, we didn't care. It wasn't our house anyway. It was just pure chaotic fun that no one ever today could understand unless you were there. And the same goes for LAN parties, where you'd have kids bring over their PCs to each other's houses and hook them up for fat battles of Warcraft 3 and Tribes 2. Dude, do you remember Tribes 2? This was my favorite futuristic jetpack team shooter, and you could LAN it with up to 128 people or bots. It was incredible. This trend of couch co-op and LANing itself, though, wouldn't last forever. As online features became more mainstream and society became addicted to social media, Facebook, and computers, traditional co-op games became few and far between, and LANs became yearly tournaments like
I didn't know that.
In fact, game genres
What
became
game was
quite
that?
specialized as the new systems migrated towards their own targeted demographics. Microsoft and Sony would be great rivals throughout the 2000s, and even to this day, the feud is ongoing. They vie for the same space, more or less, in the gaming markets, offering modern gaming experiences with mature rated video game titles. Xbox offered more services on its online platform and more features, but content-wise, you can generally find similar styles of games on both systems. It's interesting, though not peculiar, that Nintendo decided very on not to take part in the rat race and focused instead on light-hearted games like Mario, Metroid, Kirby, and Zelda. Those games are for everyone. And with interesting controller setups like the Wiimote, you'd never find violent action games, standard FPS games, or controversial titles like The Last of Us on Nintendo consoles. When most people talk about the popularity of gaming, they often say that Microsoft and Sony have the most players and that Nintendo has always been trailing behind, but that couldn't be more far from the truth in the 2000s. In fact, of the 10 top-selling games of the decade, 8 were from Nintendo, and the top 7 are all from Nintendo.
Those packed in?
The only game franchise that came close was Grand Theft Auto. And if you look at the top 30 top-selling games of the 2000s, Nintendo
No, because it's for kids as well. That's what so everyone can play this.
Oh, they wanted to promote
sold, which was for the time
health
the
while you're playing games.
Video game ever. Eventually, it would be overthrown by Minecraft and GTA 5, but during the 2000s, Nintendo was one of the top dogs, releasing 4 really great platforms:
Mario,
the Game Boy Advance, the GameCube, the Wii, and the Nintendo DS. I personally think the GameCube is one of the best systems to ever hit the scene. Although the GameCube fell into last place in the race, it's the most critically underacclaimed system next to the DC. It was a little purple box of creativity with a cute handle, but at its heart, it was a pulsating volcano of awesomeness. Unlike the Wii, which was forever.
Yeah, so
So, let's talk about games.
Yeah. Maybe don't, because you're gonna talk way over that out.
How much time I got? 10 seconds?
No. It's a Christmas in. 15.
Splatterhouse, folks! Best game ever. Prove me
I
wrong.
don't know what the splatter are. For some reason, you splatter stuff.
Yes, it's about splatter stuff. It's like a cooking game. 1989 version's pretty good, but 2010 version, I think it has a Slayer track on it. Pretty awesome. good story. I wish they made more of those games. Like another, like Splatterhouse 2 for current gen. Or just re-release this one. Remastered. Because that was a good game.
Well, it's only 14 years old. We're almost 15.
Yeah. It's only on an Xbox and PlayStation 3 on a disc.
Oh.
So it's expensive.
Oh. Interesting.
I had both versions, so I just sold one.
It was actually still a console for hardcore gamers.
Find it cheap.
It came an interesting controller that was
So,
perfect
take
for
what's
the new
money.
creative 3D titles it would house. Predating the somewhat gimmicky era of motion controls and the shackles of capitalistic game regurgitation, the GameCube was a treasure box full of many games that have become long-standing staples in gaming culture. Just flipping through a little bit of the gold brings me back to a time where gaming was truly at its peak with some of the best Nintendo first-party titles ever made. You pretty much got everything with a Cube. All the great first-party titles, M-rated smashers like Killer 7 and Eternal Darkness, the best Paper Mario game, kart racers, really good Star Wars games, and one of the best soccer games ever made. GameCube titles truly made unimaginable things happen while nailing the design and the gameplay of their titles, and I always thought the mini discs they came on were really cute, even though the tech of the Cube was actually one of the reasons it's viewed as a commercial failure, despite being one of the best systems ever for gamers. The PS2 and the Xbox had DVD players, which at the time was very cost-effective, practical, and offered more capacity for the third-party scene, while the GameCube had a handle. It made the system look like a breadbasket. More importantly, it also had no support for online play and the perception of being less powerful, which wasn't entirely true. In the 2000s, graphics were a really big part of gaming discourse, and it was often just as important to have really good-looking titles as it was to have really good playing titles to attract buyers who were on the fence. And GameCube titles looked, on average, worse than the really pretty shiny graphics of Xbox and such. And that's a shame because I think the Nintendo GameCube was an absolute rock star of a system. Either way, Nintendo would make much more headway with the Wii in 2006, selling 5 times as many consoles as the GameCube. Another enormous trend from the 2000s was the evolution of PC gaming. By the end of the 90s, several blockbuster online games had come into the scene like StarCraft, Diablo, Warcraft 3, and several big-time RPGs and all the competitive shooters like Unreal Tournament. When Diablo 2 came out in 2000, though, it was clear that PC gaming was not just here to stay, but a force to be reckoned with. I can't even describe how much of my life I put into this one single game, just trying to find a win force, which has eluded me to this day. I wish I could have some of those hours of my life back, I was so addicted. But it wasn't just Diablo that burst into the scene. As I said before, a cornucopia of games flooded the decade, and it wasn't long before there were so many games available that you couldn't possibly play them all. In just a few short years, PC fans got Counter-Strike, Deus Ex, Knights of the Old Republic, Half-Life, Half-Life 2, Oblivion, Morrowind, Max Payne, and so many more games that are still held in high regard today. The variety was truly incredible, starting a new trend in getting games into the hands of so many different people. It wasn't just the nerds playing games anymore like the 90s. The most important game of the 2000s, though, was arguably The Sims. Having gotten my first PC soon after, I can say The Sims was one of the coolest and most messed up and fucked up games I've ever played. This is a game where you take control of a bunch of people.
I keep forgetting about it to actually hear about Sims. Yeah, I did play that game.
Then you have to feed your family, shower them, make friends, go to work, maintain your relationships, water your plants, invest in stocks, invite friends over, and all this other weird stuff. You can see the requirements in the bottom right of the screen. Did you?
No, it seems too
micromanage. That includes
kinda. I prefer a dungeon crawler over Sims. You gotta feed them, you have to do all this other stuff to them. Yeah, but it's not as demanding as
Sims.
that.
Yeah, Sims is quite demanding because you have to build a house, you have to actually go to work, you have to, there's a lot of things to do that you have to keep them happy and all that, or they're gonna die. And I know there's a Sims 4 and stuff like that. I was watching that Kelsey girl doing that 100 Babies challenge, remember? Years ago?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I never finished it watching her, but I know she finished it, but I was just, oh, wow, that's really progressed. Like the whole thing, but it's still the same thing, doing the same thing, so.
As a kid, this was kind of nasty. The same went for how your house could start looking like a landfill if you didn't take care of it.
Yeah.
If you didn't take out your trash or wash your dishes, your house would start smelling like a garbage dump. And if you didn't bang your wife, she wouldn't love you anymore. Yes, you can watch your character.
Really?
Yeah.
It's like pixel, humpy humpy. And if you didn't take care of your kids,
Jesus.
Child Protective Services.
I just remember the one
would
from
show
one of the
up
Grand
and
Theft Auto
take
games.
them
You can get a
away.
prostitute.
Again, as a kid, this was
And
so
the car be
surreal
like-
to me. You could even set your
the
house
thing.
on fire and kill everyone.
Yeah.
It's truly one of the weirdest games I've ever seen, and I can't even believe it got made. But it got so many people into gaming during a period where just a few years beforehand, they looked down on such a media. Because it was chill and required basically no skill. With just a little bit of attention, anyone could play The Sims and have a good time with it. It was approachable, understandable, and easy to use, aka accessible, one of the trends that would alter the fortunes of gaming to this very day. These kinds of games were everywhere in the 2000s, like Roller Coaster Tycoon,
another
but
one.
there was also tons of stuff for other types of
You
players
can
too.
kind of see now that he's gonna start mentioning games that I didn't remember, and oh yeah, I did play that. I did play the Roller Coaster Tycoon as well, and on the computer too. And I spent another hours and hours on top. And I was still the sound of it. I'm kind of like every year when there's a festival here and there's like roller coasters and stuff, it actually sounds like it. I mean, like the game, the sounds in the game of the roller coaster, people riding on it and stuff. It sounds like the actual roller coasters and things like that, like the park, you know, the amusement park. Yeah. So it's like every time I hear it when it's here in town, I'm just like, it just sounds like in the game. And you can see what kind of games I played and what kind of games Eric played. So it's like
all sorts of complex simulation games like EVE online shoot 'em ups, puzzlers, role-playing games, MMOs, and creative genre breakers like Guitar Hero and Dance Dance Revolution. Talk about bridging the gap between gamers and watchers. And then there were really niche titles like Black and White, which was my first God game. I'm not even sure what this game was all about. And Sacrifice was the other game that just blew my mind. Again, another new age fusion game blending combat, action, and RTS. This particular game was so fascinating to me because as a kid, I couldn't even have dreamed up a concept like this. Just to nail this point home, this was the decade that Beautiful Joe and Pikmin launched on GameCube and Okami for the PlayStation 2. There were so many weird and wonderful types of games. The 90s seemed so simple compared to all this. Like I said, it was the era of innovation. One such creative title introduced in 2000 called No One Lives Forever shows a very different side to the FPS than you'd ever find today. This era was all about taking chances, but this wouldn't last forever. Far into the next decade, more aggressive business practices encouraged copycat game development. For-profit incentives like overly monetizing titles and stuffing all sorts of in-game stores and pre-order bonuses into the mix. This was a good way to get more money for every dollar spent.
Try to make as much money as possible.
Are questionable.
I know, yeah, you say it's a business, but if you run a business, just do the game that you don't have to pay extra money into it to just be better than other players. I think the problem with loot boxes and the fact that you're paying for the money and not being you know, like the people that they are good at game and don't have the money, they're still gonna be losing to people that they have money to spend on all those add-ons. That's the whole thing. This
It'll
is
be a
why
life lesson, folks.
It's not.
You want to succeed in life?
Yeah.
Break some money.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but that doesn't work. Life doesn't work like that.
Of course it does.
No, it doesn't.
Really?
People that don't have money most likely will never have money. Yeah, exactly.
They're the
It
worker
doesn't
ants.
mean, yeah, no,
They're
it's not
working
the
at
worker
sandwich
ants.
shops
But
and
there's people that they
stocking
don't have
shelves.
money, but they have intelligence and stuff, but they just don't get the chance to actually succeed. That's where what's the word?
Segregation?
No. Okay. I'm not getting into too deep. This is just about games, so let's just get into it.
Regardless, it's landed us where we are today, where every game seems like it's trying to shoot for the financial stars. But in the 2000s, every single genre had its day, from kart racers to 4X strategy games to Sudoku sex anime games and everything else you could think of. Though the popularity of some of those would wane as the decade went on, like beat-em-ups, point-and-clicks, and of course, the once-beloved platformer that we all know and love. And honestly, arcades too, unfortunately, would be left in the dust given the popularity and availability of consoles, online gaming, and PC gaming. By 2009, you could play a game with anyone, from anywhere, from the comfort of your own couch, have a friends list, and chat online or even voice chat, all while playing games that in no way, shape, or form are representative of today's most popular. You have to understand that during the 2000s, gaming culture wasn't anything like it is today. There weren't any MOBAs, or Battle Royale games, or Minecraft or Overwatches. Those games came in the following decade. You didn't stream. Twitch wasn't founded yet. You didn't have smartphones for games until the very end of the decade. YouTube was just starting up, and this idea of online communities among games wasn't really a thing yet. Reddit was also very new and underutilized. It was game sites like Game Trailers that were popular, not raging internet news tycoon YouTubers. People discussing the games industry in provocative and lucrative ways wasn't really a thing. There was no lavish monetization in gaming, no battle passes, no season passes, no loot boxes or anything like that. You might have a couple things you could buy, but all of that was yet to come. In the early days, it was more or less no drama, all fun. Several big games had giant communities though. Iconic titles like RuneScape and World of Warcraft, EverQuest 2 would pretty much take over the lives of innocent kids across the world, including myself. Counter-Strike was insanely popular, but MMOs were the most powerful games by far on PC. This iconic picture showcases the insanity, 10 million active subscribers per month at the turn of the decade. That's $150 million in revenue each month, ongoing for a decade. Can you imagine that kind of cheddar? World of Warcraft not only paved the groundworks for the modern MMO.
I don't know what he was talking about actually.
The amount of money that they earned on that game per month.
How much? So I was kind of like looking at the graph and I was trying to figure out what is this.
I believe it's over 100,000, 100 million.
You see, that's what happens when you're in the middle of the night on your app.
Sorry, yes, I have coffee, folks. But yeah, I buy my own island. Have a very nice bunker, like in Salem. It's beautiful, Salem. Yeah.
Just like that.
Be awesome.
Yeah.
But it changed the face of cooperative and online play forever. Not just PvP gameplay like Counter-Strike. WoW is a social game. You can talk to people to get groups, you could trade, run dungeons, do PvP, or craft and exploit the in-game
Can you open the door for Millie?
Sure, why
economy with the auction house, all while interacting with other players in any way you wanted. Whereas games could be beaten in a single sitting in the 90s, you could essentially play WoW forever. It became the norm in the 2000s to save games and come back later to them, especially given how consoles had either internal hard drives or memory cards now. This had a large effect on the evolution of video game difficulty. But having a character in a living, breathing, ongoing world was simply on another level though. There was no end screen and you never see the words game over. You were the character and the world was yours, but it would come at a cost. World of Warcraft came with an upfront cost, plus $15 a month for your subscription. I played WoW for 10 years, which means I forked over almost $2,000 for this game. It damn near bankrupted me, and in my addiction I ended up homeless, living in a casino hotel, gambling my nights away to afford my room. This was definitely a turning point for gaming, caused primarily by the new age of subscriptions. The only other things the game had leading up to subscriptions were expansion packs, but even then you only had to buy it once. Subscriptions never ended, which led to DLC, which led to in-game stores, which paved the way for microtransactions, which led to seasons, which ignited the pre-order bonus online culture where you can pay $20 more to play a game a week before everyone else, which has led to us changing the way game progression systems are now designed, which brings you up to today, where you're never really sure if you're getting everything you should be when you fork over the money. Step back and look at modern gaming from a peanut gallery and you'll see the monetization buffet feasting on an industry driven by big business, that's for sure. But when you bought a game in the 2000s, you pretty much got the whole game. WoW had a subscription, but there was never a moment where you questioned the ethics of its content. WoW was generous and large. It wasn't selling boosters or max level characters or cosmetics in the store. And content wasn't ripped out of the base game to use as DLC. At least it didn't seem like that, and that goes for basically every other game I played. I never got the suspicion that games are being chopped up behind the scenes. Finding a game, especially on the console, ransacked with in-game monetization was like trying to find a needle in a haystack. Games may have been shitty, but if you bought a game, you were getting the full package. A lot of people tend to look back and say that older games were better, but if you actually lived through the 2000s, you'd find tons of crappy games, just like today. They were more feature completes, but I could show you 100 bad games from this decade. But you only need to look at something like Simpsons Wrestling or Batman Dark Tomorrow. Anyone could tell just from this footage that these games are diarrhea city. But it wasn't just these games, there were tons of issues across all genres. Terrible movie adaptations, horrible ports given the variance of new PC hardware, and lots of control issues. When you have an era of innovation, there are always going to be a bunch of turds floating around. And you have to remember that refunding games wasn't as available as it is today. There weren't Steam refunds, and if you opened the box at your store, you probably wouldn't get back what you paid for it. Hell, one time, Walmart made me open the copy of Superman 64 I brought back to return and plug it into their display unit and show them my save file just so they could see if I had played the game. I felt so embarrassed because I did play the game, I just wanted to return it because it was shit. There was a lot of risk playing games, no doubts, and a lot of rental stores had limited copies of games. My local video store never had copies of new games. Some lowlife would always get there before me, so I had to rely on rare game demo CDs that would sometimes come with new editions of EGM. Though honestly, game magazines and rentals wouldn't be that big of a part of game culture as the decade closed out. Netflix and Redbox would put so much pressure on the brick and mortar that they'd be driven out of business just a few years after the 2000s ended. As the sun of the 2000s began to set, games were in a completely different spot than when it started. The 7th generation consoles were getting mature and all the big companies were getting ready to release their next systems in the coming years. Systems like the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3 now had wireless controls, online functionality, and new tech like Blu-ray players or motion controls or tilt features. Ventrilo was founded and Steam was making headway, so you could now buy games online and voice chat with all of your friends. Advances in presentation were making games incredibly atmospheric, even movie-like. Iconic titles like Killzone 2 and Uncharted 2 featured beautiful on-rails technology that were some of the first real-time set pieces that I ever experienced. It was now possible to retain control while games came alive in the background. Territory once reserved for pre-rendered cutscenes, and a huge leap forward from missions like Stalingrad from Call of Duty 1 just a few years beforehand. Smartphones were gaining momentum. The mobile gaming crave was about to take the world by storm. And gaming had changed. RPGs were getting huge. Worlds were becoming open, and sequels were becoming a big thing too. All around the world, people were playing games, at home, online, and in trains going to and from work. In the following decade, games would become so mainstream that you'd no longer be an outcast, leading to even more popularity as streaming platforms would burst onto the scene and once again change the face of gaming forever. There's no denying that the 2000s were, with the 90s, the two most defining decades in all of gaming. No other period of 20 years would see so much change and transform our culture, its people, how accepted we were, and how we played, shared, and experienced games. It was a time where video games thrived in so many creative ways, and where people took a chance on an idea, even though they didn't know if it would work out. Creating a breathtaking handful of years where games were made through passion creation rather than profit creation, before games became the commodities that they are today, and gaming culture became what it is now. Every era has its ups and downs, and modern gaming has given us some incredible titles, but it's also changed so much of the heart of game development that it feels very estranged from this period. The 90s and the 2000s were simple times where gaming was pure bliss. I carried gaming with me through high school and into college, through my entire life, and through all the changes of video game genres and gimmicks and fads. There were so many beloved titles, and I had so many wonderful memories during this time, playing by myself, with my old friends, and with all the new people I met in the online scene. There were so many memories that it was impossible to show them all in this one video, and that's a sign that the 2000s was where gaming might have been at its best. Thanks for watching. If you have a story to share about your experience in the 2000s, please feel free to post it in the comment section below. I'll see you guys in our next video. Peace.
Peace, baby.
So, do you agree with him?
Well, PlayStation 2, yeah, but I say gaming would be better in the 90s.
Yeah, because he's like probably 10 years older than he is, so
Yeah.
it's more memories. It was kind of more your constructive time when you were actually growing up, and the most important part of.
Yeah. In 2030, when they release those new Sega games from like Golden Axe and Shadow Dancer and all that stuff,
Really?
then they'll get me back to being awesome.
No, we're gonna have to review that in like 20 years, I guess.
Yeah, 5 years. What year are we in? 24?
Yeah.
5 years. 5 years.
No, to just see if the game's gonna be awesome. In
Oh,
general.
yeah. It's going to be on your TV with Microsoft, Xbox subscription
Don't even
only.
need another extra thing.
Yeah. Everybody's just wearing like. I don't know, we'll see in 5 years.
I don't know, but I think that he makes the video really nicely.
Yeah.
A lot of content and
Got
stuff. So.
Let's go to the 90s.
Okay. So
Yeah, bye.
we're gonna finish now, and the next week we're gonna watch. I mean, we're gonna watch it now, but you're gonna see it next week. The video about how the game from the same channel it wasn't the 90s.
What was gaming like in the 90s?
Because Eric really wants to see it.
I do.
Despite the fact that I've already seen it. So, okay, let's go. I see you tomorrow. I see you, Eric, next week. Bye.
Bye.